Hey guys, after pulling my hamstring a few months ago, I wanted to improve my flexibility so it's less likely to happen again. If you have tight hamstrings, then there is a lot I'm going to share with you that should help you out as well. So how do you know if they're tight? There are 4 basic tests, the first of which is fingertip to floor distance, which is basically can you touch your toes without bending your knees. You measure the furthest distance you can hold for a count of 3, so bouncing isn't allowed. If you stand on a step, then any distance above the step counts as a plus score, and anything below is a minus. So for example, almost reaching your toes might be plus 2 centimeters. Then there's the sit and reach test, which is similar to fingertip to floor, but sitting down. You can get an official box to put your feet up against, and there's a slider which you push as far away as you can. There's no strict rules for what a good score is here because people vary in height and limb length, and you're also measuring lower back flexibility too. As a general guide for these, making it just past your toes is average, and being more than 8 centimeters or 3 inches different is either good or poor. The final 2 are lying down, and you'll either have one thigh at 90 degrees and get a partner to measure how much you can straighten your lower leg, or keep both legs straight and measure how high one leg can be raised while keeping the other one down. You'd measure by stopping when you feel discomfort, having someone put an inclinometer on your shin. But if you wanted a rough idea, then around 60 degrees is average, 90 is good, and below 45 degrees is poor. Onto some of the research, and one of the best results I saw came from the simplest protocol. Participants used a jackknife stretch, which is like a downward dog in yoga, and they did 2 sets of 5 stretches, each one lasting 5 seconds, and they did this every day. They measured using the fingertip to floor distance, and on average they went from plus 14 centimeters to minus 8 centimeters over 4 weeks. Now you might think 5 seconds isn't enough, but lots of studies found that it was total time spent stretching that was most important. There was no difference between doing 3 sets of 30 seconds compared to 9 sets of 10 seconds, and even doing stretching once a day or twice every other day had similar results. Others found most of the improvements came in the first 4 weeks of stretching, and they didn't progress much beyond that. Also, 3 or 5 days of stretching a week were good, while 1 day a week was insufficient. Next, the type of stretching. If you've heard of PNF, also called contract relax, that's usually done with a partner, where you would push against them for 5 seconds, then completely relax and let them give you a deeper stretch, and then repeat. One study using PNF asked people to push with 40, 70 and 100% of their force, and found similar results with 70 and 100%. Therefore, they recommended 70% because of the reduce in injury risk. Studies found PNF to be comparable to foam rolling or static stretching, so you don't have to do PNF to get the best results. Foam rolling had greater benefits up to around 30 seconds, at which point it leveled off, and the only thing that increased was the participant's level of discomfort, so 30 seconds of foam rolling is a good starting point. Improvements in flexibility were found from foam rolling the piriformis, adductors, quads, hamstrings and calves at a frequency of 5 times every 2 weeks, so about once every 3 days. Doing around 5 minutes of leg swings increased range of motion for the next 90 minutes, but the effects started wearing off after 15. Something to bear in mind when warming up for your sport. On the subject of sports and injuries, peak muscle strain decreased as flexibility increased. One study found that soccer players who were less flexible were more injury prone, though another study found no significant difference. 40 teenage footballers took the straight leg raise test, which was then used to separate them into a flexible and inflexible group. When looking at their average performances, they found the flexible group were able to jump 10% higher, run 6% faster, and kick a ball 6% faster too. So a good reason to stretch. One of my favorite studies looked at how long you keep your flexibility after you stop stretching, and they compared active stretching to passive stretching. They found with the active stretching group, they kept 2/3 of their improvements after 4 weeks of no stretching, while the passive stretching group lost all of their gains. What is active stretching? Well, I found this one from Dr. John Russin called the 90-90 active hamstring stretch, which I've linked below. You're actively pushing into the ground with the straight leg, keeping the other thigh at 90 degrees and going through full straightening and bending for 30 seconds. And the final study showed that strength training with the muscle in the lengthened position improved muscle length, while stretching alone did not. What that means is when you gain some extra range of motion, you should immediately try to strengthen it. That takes me along nicely to the protocol I made, and after 3 weeks my fingertip to floor distance improved from +2 centimeters to -8 centimeters, and my straight leg raise went from 76 to 82 degrees. We'll start with the foam rolling. I did 30 seconds on the 5 muscle groups mentioned earlier, 3 times a week. On the days I wasn't foam rolling, I was doing the active hamstring stretch I just showed you, 2 sets of 30 seconds in the morning and again in the evening, 3 days per week. I was also stretching my calves with a rope or dressing gown tie looped around the foot. Pull the toes towards you, do 30 seconds same arm to leg, then 30 seconds opposite arm to leg while inverting the foot, and that is a magical stretch. Finally, in the gym, I added good mornings. Start with no weight until you get the movement down, and then you can start loading. It was 3 sets of 8 with a pause. Don't try and go to parallel, just what your body allows without back strain. You want the legs quite straight, push the hips out behind you and feel those hamstrings working. Thanks for watching, guys. I have put all the links I've mentioned in an article, and that can be found over at 9to5strength.com. I've also linked it below in the description. Cheers.